Okay, I chose this title because since we're at a technical university, I thought I must have the word engineering somewhere in the title. But I want to stress at the same time that the stress is more on piecemeal and on social than engineering, since we're not there yet with the technical infrastructure. And also, you should remember that the whole concept of piecemeal social engineering, the object of it is to lay the foundation of the modern welfare state. So that's where we're hoping to get somewhere in the future. But again, we're not there yet. Last year in June, we got this directive, this mission from our rector of the Stockholm University to, from the library, coordinate the development of a cross-departmental working group for research data management. And this working group or task force should include representatives from the archival department, ethics and grants office, the IT department. We also have a lawyer, a jurist of our own in the library. Unfortunately, he's only working part-time now, but he's still there for consultancy. And then the library as coordinator. I should tell you who we are at the library. It's Sabina Anderberg, who is our coordinator, and she had visited Utrecht University recently, where she has a mentor in leadership. It's Jeff Love, who has the same function as myself, and who will be, from September this year, a new data steward here at Delft University. So we're a bit unhappy about that. We're happy for him and happy for you, but in this way we're losing a third part of our staff at the library. So it will be hard to replace him. But further in this mission from the rector was to submit recommendations for a general research data policy, establish a researcher reference group with representatives from different faculties, and submit recommendations on a DMP template, and develop other guidelines, and providing training support and education. And further, since 1st of January this year, we are part of the Swedish National Data Service Consortium as one of 7 big universities in Sweden. So we have representatives on the board of that consortium. And we also should establish and develop objects in the administrative model of the IT department for both publishing and research data management. So how are we doing? Let's see. We already have in place, actually since March this year, a research data policy, which is it's on a very general level, but it's actually promoting open science and following the FAIR principles. And we're a bit proud of it, even though it's a bit more general than we had hoped for, but we're still the first university in Sweden to have such a policy. We have established a researcher reference group with members from the faculties at Stockholm University's representatives, and they are already an important dialogue partner for the further development of our services. And we find it very important to have this user focus, both for making inventories of the needs out at the different faculties, departments, institutions, and also have them transfer as a channel of communication back to their own departments or institutes. So it, in the best of worlds, it should make it easier to adapt our services to their needs. We are working on recommendations for a data management plan, but this is something we do not want to decide on locally, just for Stockholm University. So we're trying to lift it up to a national or even international level. But we are working with the Swedish Association of Swedish Higher Education to present some recommendations. Actually, they will take a decision on a draft recommendation in June this year, so it's imminent. For the time being, we're recommending our researchers to use the DMP Online tool, which can be accessed directly from for all Stockholm University affiliated researchers. We are, as I mentioned, already part of this Swedish National Data Service Consortium and have a representative on the board. And we also will provide, all the members of the consortium will provide domain specialists within different fields, and Stockholm University has chosen geodata, GIS, as our specialty. And also we excuse me, take part in training provided by the S&D. They have these train the trainer courses. I actually came yesterday directly from one session with in one of these courses in Borås, in the south of Sweden, southwest. This administrative model that we are developing together with the ICT department, part of the work here consists of identifying which ICT systems do we depend on for research data management. And the object is, of course, to better integrate different systems such as CRIS systems, archive, and even access system. Also, they provide a large data storage facilities, and this will be partly as part of the SUNET, is the Swedish University's computer network. Actually, those who brought the internet to Sweden one time ago, long time ago. And they are now developing special nodes for research data storage systems. And one of those nodes will be placed at Stockholm University. Well, we still have problems with archiving research data because we do not have, and actually, to my knowledge, no Swedish university yet has a full-blown electronic or digital archive system, although there is a law that it should be in place since 10 years ago or something like that. But we're working on it, but it's a question of resources. But the archival department is still an integral part of this task force, this working group, RDM working group. So they take part in our courses, and and training sessions. And we also have a pilot trial of harvesting research data from one of the research the data repositories that we use, if you can call it that, the Figshare. We have a local Figshare instance at Stockholm University, so we're harvesting data from there, transform it to the national archival standard, and we have just delivered some test packages, submission information packages to the temporary storage space at the archive to see if they are fit for survival. And we hope to get some feedback on those to improve the transformation further. And you can find the actual software used for that at this Zenodo instance. Otherwise, it's very much about communication and, as I said, social engineering more than technical engineering so far. We have our own web pages, quite extensive, for research data management. We have discussions with the leadership of the at university level. We have a lecture series on open science with practitioners of open science, researchers both from Stockholm University and from abroad. We had one researcher from Norway last fall, very interesting lecture on the use of music in clinical work also. And we have articles in the local newsletters and reports on the activities of the on the task force. Much of our work is social, as I said. Visits to different departments and institutes. We have a mailbox for research data management questions that is used more and more frequently, actually. And we have, as I said, this reference group. Much of this activity is driven by my colleague, Jeff Love, who will now transform to Delft, so you can understand why we're not so happy about that. These are some of the questions that we deal with. We give advice on choice of a repository for making, should I perhaps move? We give advice about which repositories to choose on, and we also have some real-life curation since we have this Figshare instance, and also some of our data sets also on Zenodo. We have teaching and training sessions. Right now, Jeff is out to the Department of Roman and Classical Languages to give a course, to participate in a seminar there. We have had a course for PhD students at the Faculty of Law. That kind of training. We have questions on security, data security and sensitive data, and ethical questions. We have a special expert on ethical vetting. He's actually has a background as a philosopher. It has turned out very well. And we also have license and copyright questions handled partly by our law specialists, our jurists. And we also have cooperation with we have a institute called the Bolin Center for Climate Research, which is cross-departmental, and they have their own repository, and we have participated in their database advisory group, yes, for trying to give advice on how to make their repository more fair. So a year ago I was there and presented them with this wish list for making their repository more fair with 12 different bullet points. And they actually, after that, they have managed to fulfill at least most of these, I think, but there are still some left. But so it has improved their findability and also, I would say, interoperability. They still don't feel mature enough. They have the right to mint their own DOIs, but they don't feel mature enough to do that yet, since, as you know, DOIs should last forever. And okay, we'll see. And actually, already next week, I will be at the next database advisory group meeting. So that is part of our activities. We also have this, I should only mention, this is an idea that we nicked from Glasgow University, to have a report form for those who do not use those platforms or repositories that we recommend. There is a possibility of using from our webpage, filling out a very short form to report, I placed my data set here, so that we at least know about it and we could look into it and see if it's a good place to make data available. So that's about what we have for the moment. This is the front page of our web pages, developed by Jeff again. So you see what you're getting here at Delft, and also he made all the translations, of course. So all our web pages are now bilingual. We have in Swedish and English, all our web pages. So that's it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joakim. Are there any questions for Joakim? Oh!
Joakim, could you say a little bit more about the advantages and disadvantages of the institutional version of Figshare?
Oh, I could deliver a lecture in 1 hour.
Please have the short version.
One of the advantages, to begin with that, is that they are very good at marketing, I would say. If the incentive for the researcher is to be visible, Figshare is a good place to be, because they do a lot and they're visible.
That's one advantage. Now give me one disadvantage.
One disadvantage is that, the metadata is not top-notch, I would say. And although there is development underway, and if you argue with them, they will correct things. For example, which is an advantage, they are, to my knowledge, the sole provider of the METS format. You can get a harvest in METS format, and that's very important for archival records. But when we started to look into their METS, it didn't validate at all. They had no struct maps, which are mandatory in the METS format, and they had very strange XML attributes with prefixes, which are not allowed. But they have corrected that after we argued with them. But it's still a way to go to be fully compliant, I would say. Well, that's one advantage.
Okay. Anybody who wants to get thrown by...
Hi, I'm Heidi Kunestabo from your neighbor, the University of Oslo Library.
Yes.
I was wondering, to what extent are you using your subject specialist librarians? And how easy or difficult is it to get researchers on that research advisory board?
The first question is, to be honest, we don't have subject specialist librarians. I know you're in Norway. Since I worked in Norway before, you have these fagreferent. Yes, used to. Okay, but since Stockholm University Library has, since some, I think 10 years ago, decided to have a fully implemented acquisition on demand only. So we don't have really collection management or collection in that way anymore. So we only do acquisition on demand, and that's, I think this was before I started this decision, but it's part of the strategy of transferring resources from collection management to instead data management and publishing. So it's less about what's coming in, more about what's going out from the university now. So it's a conscious choice that the university has made. The second part of your question was about...
Yeah, how easy is it to get researchers
to the reference group? Well, they are actually appointed by the faculty boards, so they have to be. But no, I think they don't seem that unhappy of being there. We have regular meetings. Actually, the next meeting is tomorrow, and we'll discuss then. We have, for example, we're allowed to give input on the research data policy. Very important to have them on board for that. And also tomorrow's topic will be, we will appoint contact persons. It's kind of data stewards light at the institutions. And they have been able to give feedback on the proposition for how this mission or work description should be expressed. And we're not there yet. We will decide tomorrow what we will know tomorrow, perhaps, what will be the outcome of this. But I guess it's... I know there was some resentment about or fear that the burden on that contact person would be too heavy, so that since they are not getting paid like the data stewards here, so they will, and they also want to know how many % of my work time do I have to dedicate to this function. And on the other hand, for example, from the archive, they expressed wishes that the contact persons should be conversant with all the archival laws and regulations. And I can understand that that may appear as simply too much for a contact person at institutional level. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Thank you.